book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verse 35, and it reads, "Hear now these things, and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold, the word of the Lord, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack. As when a woman with child is in the 9th month, bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb. Which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come upon every side." Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all honor and glory to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. That is all praises, blessings, honor be to the Most High, and our Lord and Savior, the Deliverer, whom the world called Jesus. His name is YAHAWASHI. Shalom, Labakaryam Shah, Yasharala. Shalom to the Lord's elect. Much respect to the brothers who's doing this work in all truth and all righteousness for the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Yahawashi HaMashiach. Double honors to the elders, the bishops, and the apostles of the Great Millstone. That is where I learned this truth. Just want to get into a very quick lesson here. Lord's will and be edifying, and to get something out of it. This video you just saw, I'll play it again. This is just a 17-second clip from... This is out of Kenya, so they're protesting the new tax bill, and we'll get into that in a moment. But just let's play it again. So now, currently in Kenya, there is mass protests in the streets. They're complaining about the unreasonable cost of living, the taxes, the new taxes, and there's protests and uproars in the streets. There's shortages of food, there's calamities, they don't trust their governments, so there's a lot of uproars of the people. And this is what the scriptures talks about. Across the world, you're going to have this. Right now in North America, different parts of the world, they're living in that luxury moment, meaning they can still go to the McDonald's and buy themselves food. They can go, if they want to get Starbucks or whatever, one of these, whatever tickles their fancy, they can go and get those things. There was another video I was watching earlier with Kenya, where it looks like a local, let's just call it like a Walmart type of big box type store, where people are out by the hundreds. Traffic block, protests, people are rushing to get to this building, but there's shortages of food. There's not enough food for everybody. So what happens when you see this is what? People become angry, they lose patience, they become violent, they start to hurt each other, and ultimately they start to delete each other, right? Because this is what you'll see, the true nature of man when push comes to shove. So right now you're seeing this in Kenya. So let's go to this this new tax bill. Let's go into it for a little bit. It says, what are Kenya's controversial tax proposals? So right now you're seeing people in the street, they're protesting. It says, protests over an unpopular finance bill have led to the deaths of 5 people in Kenya. Which part of the parliament building set alight? See that? 5 people here have been deleted so far. It says protesters say the bill will impose unaffordable tax rises on ordinary citizens and businesses already weighed down by the high cost of living. So I was just going to say, you're adding on top of that, on top of the extraordinary prices, outrageous prices, food prices across the vast majority of the world. They're now looking to add more pressure on the people. See? So this is why the people are taken to the streets. It says police fired live rounds at protesters on Tuesday, leading to several deaths and hundreds of injuries. So see that? Look at that. Police fired live rounds, not blanks, not tear gas, but live rounds. Police fired live rounds at protesters on Tuesday, leading to several deaths and hundreds of injuries. So imagine people are protesting economic conditions. They're protesting towards their government, and these officers have pretty much shoot to kill on sight. That's really, there's no other way to try to sugarcoat it, right? It says police fired live rounds at protesters on Tuesday, leading to several deaths and hundreds of injuries. The government has dropped some of the continuous proposals, but protesters want the entire bill scrapped. So even though they were out in the streets, the government had modified because they knew it was one of those draconian laws. It says, what did the original bill propose? It says taxes on basic items. The bill initially proposed to introduce a 16% sales tax on bread, wow, and 25% duty on cooking oil. And these are like what? Basic essentials. Let's go to, let me go there really quickly. Second Esdras. Bear with me for 1 second here. Bear with me for 1 second. The precept just popped to my mind here. So let's go there. Let me see, 1 second. Yes, the water YAHAWASHI. So this is so let's go back here. It says yes, this is what prompted this precept for me. It says the bill initially proposed to introduce a 16% sales tax on bread and 25% duty on cooking oil. So now listen to this. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 39, verse 26, also known as Sirach. It says the principal things for the whole use of a man's life are water. Of course, we all need water to what? To bathe, to cook, to drink, to survive, right? To wash our clothes, so on and so forth. It says the principal thing for the whole use of man's life are water, fire to cook. Some places use fire for light. Some places use fire for heat. You see, so water, fire, iron. Use a pot to cook in, right? Or just basic things around the house. Tools. It says, so let's read it in its full. It says the principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of grape, and oil, and clothing. So those are the basic essentials we need to survive. That's it. And of course, you can throw shelter in there, but those are the basic necessities we need to survive. So look what happened. A 16% sales tax on bread and 25% duty on cooking oil. There was also a planned increase in the tax on financial transactions, as well as new annual tax on vehicle ownership amounted to 2.5% of the value of the vehicle. In response to public opposition, the government said it would drop these measures. A charge on products that can contribute to waste and harm the environment was another key provision of the bill that the government has now suggested amendments to. Critics pointed out that it would lead to the increase of the cost of essential items such as sanitary pads. Some countries actually give those out. It says, they said many girls already unable to afford these products often miss school during their periods. Babies' nappies would also be affected. The government then said the levy would apply to only imported products. The eco levy was also aimed at digital products, including mobile phones, cameras, recording equipment, but many Kenyans say they rely on these products essential to the digital economy. So a lot of these people are what? Social media influencers. They're using their phones or computers to upload videos and put them on the internet, whatever platform they use. It says for their livelihood. See, so this whole thing, ideology of what social media influencer, all this stuff will come to an end very soon. And this is all why it's setting everybody up, because the way of traditional jobs are no longer for some people. They make their living off the internet. See, this is why when it comes to the money aspect of these things, this is why people turn silly. Like a lot of these women, there was this Canadian Olympic, I think she got a bronze medal. She was doing the high jump or the pole vault. I think it was the pole vault. She did a jump, and when she was finished, she faked like an injury, and then she started twerking. Come to find out, this woman has an OnlyFans, so people are up in roar that this woman is a Canadian athlete representing Canada at the highest level, and she has an OnlyFans account. So that was really to showcase her extra life, or her other life, so to speak. So that's why the twerk and all those things. But so all these people here, they make a huge killing off of social media. You see, let's see. It says, what are some of the measures that remain untouched? Tax on specialized hospitals. The finance bill introduced a 16% tax on goods and services for the direct exclusive use of the construction and equipping for specialized hospitals with a minimum bed capacity of 50. Many Kenyans worried that this could mean higher healthcare costs. The chairman of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Kuria Kimani, has called the claims that the bill would tax cancer patients falsehood. Higher import and fees. The bill imposed to increase the rate of import taxes from 2.5 to 3 of the value of the item to be paid by the importer. The rise come just a year after the rate was introduced from 3.5 to 2.5. Protesters say the changes would lead to higher prices for imported goods. Rightfully so. A lot of these countries, they like people to buy local goods, so they put high taxes and tariffs on these things. But this is what you're seeing, though. It says, why did the protest escalate? On Tuesday, MP passed a controversial bill, although without some of the most contentious measures, protesters broke through the police lines and stormed the Parliament building, setting section of it on fire. I saw another video where some of the protesters got into the Parliament building, into the kitchens, and they were just eating the food, right? So police opened fire with live munition, killing at least 5 people. A BBC reporter at the scene reported seeing dead bodies in the street. And this is all prophecy. Western countries have expressed concern at the violence and urge calm. See, a lot of these countries, these Western countries, they like this kind of carnage. They like this kind of protest because this is how they like to, as Trump would say, they call these places shithole third world countries. They want to keep them that way. So whatever raw materials they take from these countries, they're paying pennies on the dollar. And when they sell it back to them, they're selling it for an extraordinary price, plus the import tariffs and taxes that they have to pay for these, tariffs. This is what they have to do, So it says, although the government has dropped some of the proposals, some remain, including the higher tax import, but concerns are deeper than this bill. Exacerbated Kenyans are angry at a government and they long thought does not take their concerns into consideration. So this is what's happened. This is all prophecy. Let's go to I think I have it here, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, right? Yes, let's go there. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, because this is what's coming to a city near us. See, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Most people can never fathom the thought of a so-called first world country having civil wars and race wars and class wars and all types of wars. They can't see it because they're in that pride that also blinds them. It says, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. And what is the sword, the modern day sword today? That's the gun. It says, for they shall be sedition amongst men. Sedition, of course, men angry at each other, fighting with each other. invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. So they're not, these people know what I just said. They don't trust the government because the government, they realize the government's not for them. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand. These people stormed into parliament buildings, going to the kitchens, doing what they need to do. But this is all lead to what? This all leads to the elite's ultimate plan. It says, why? A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Why? For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and their houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So they're going to bring in all types of military, curfews, martial arts, roadblocks. You know, they're going to bring in all these draconian measures because this is what the elites want. Right? Let's continue here with this article. It says, okay, let's see. Here we go. It says, but concerns are deeper. Nope. Demonstrations have not been convinced by Mr. Rudo's argument that compared to other African countries, Kenya taxes are relatively low. I mean, a quick internet search would figure you can figure it out, right? A finance law last year, which also introduced a slew of unpopular taxes, was met with protests at the time. So every time the government looks to raise these taxes, the people become angered, right? So let's go to this other video here. Hopefully it's still here.
Government
listen to this.
By the rich for the.
So listen to this.
Government of the rich, by the rich, for the rich. So, the government has decided that providing meals for millions of poor, hungry students just isn't a vibe anymore. Zero funds allocated, sayonara school lunches. But don't worry, they've got their priorities straight. Over $1 billion shillings reserved for giving the deputy president's crib and offices a fresh new look. Marble floors, chandeliers, a bathtub made of solid gold. Hey, all that bling is way more important than feeding hungry kids, am I right? Guess the poor kids can just eat, I don't know, air? Government of the rich, by the rich, for the rich.
So all this leads to what? Hyperinflation, high costs, unemployment. You know, it's going to lead people to higher crime. You know, they're going to be doing a lot of wickedness because they need to put food on their need to put food on their tables, Salakia. And some of these people here, they have to import goods to sell them as for their businesses, whatever. They have a little market stall, or they have like a little booth or a little store. They import all these goods. So the governments, of course, these elites that run in these places, but they are raising the taxes. They're putting like a stranglehold on the people because this is all prophecy. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes 12 verse 4, because this is all prophecy. And yes, this lesson is based on Kenya, but there are a lot of Israelites that are spread throughout the four corners of the earth. Some of those people are Israelites. You see, it says Ecclesiastes, yep, Salakia 12 verse, let's start at verse 3. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, see that? The keepers of the house, these people who have stores, right? And strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease. That means jobs, and the jobs cease. I was looking at a video yesterday where this was in America, where a beauty supply store went under because they were like, apparently the owner had died and they owed over $15,000 in terms of rent, unpaid rent. So the sheriffs came in and emptied all the possessions, threw them in the parking lot. And the people were going crazy for these items. But of course, the sheriff locked up the door or whatever. I'm not sure whatever happened next. Some part of the video where people were taking some of the stuff. But that's what people are going to do. They're going to show their true nature. So Ecclesiastes 12 verse 3 again. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, no jobs, because they are few. See, only these. This is what you had a taste of this back in about 4 years ago, when a lot of these stores had the mom and pop stores had to close their doors and rely on government aid, while the big box stores were making records amount of money, like the Costco's and Walmart, and all these stores were allowed to flourish because essentially they're owned by one corporation, one or two, BlackRock or Vanguard, right? So these elites boasted about their wealth throughout these times. So it says, in that day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the window be darkened. You see, this is what's happening, because this is all part of prophecy. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. That's talking about the work, right? See, so now you're seeing more and more homeless people across the world, even in Canada, North America. They're relying on food banks more so than ever. You see, because what does it say? And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. What's the voice of the bird goes into? That's the alarm clock. And all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So you see, this is what is happening. So across the world, food shortages, protests, uproars of the people, because this is all prophecy. Let's go to this article here. All relates. It says, this is from a website called the Oxfam International. Richest 1% bag. Talk about the elites. The richest 1% bag nearly twice as much wealth as the rest of the world put together. See that? Richest 1% bag, that means secure, nearly twice as much wealth as the rest of the world put together over the past 2 years. So I just mentioned an article there. This is going back to this is January 2023. So you go 2 years before that. You got January 2021 and 2020. What was happening those times? I just mentioned that's the spirit, right? It says super rich outstrip their extraordinary grab of half of all new wealth in the past decade. Billionaire fortunes are increasingly by 2.7 billion a day. You see this? Billionaire fortunes increasing by 2.7 billion a day. There's so much money. These people have so much money that no child, no person should ever go to their bed without a meal. That's how much money these people have. 2.7 billion a day. My goodness. Even as at least 1.7 billion workers now live in countries where inflation is outpacting wages. See that? Can't even afford to put food on the table. A tax of up to 5% on the world's millionaires and billionaires could raise 1.7 trillion a year. Wow. You seeing this? Enough to lift 2 billion people out of poverty. I just quoted that. I didn't even know that was there. That's the spirit. They have so much money that no child, no adult, no person should ever go to bed in any of these countries in the world hungry. A tax of up to 5% of the world's multimillionaires and billionaires could raise 1.7 trillion a year, enough to lift 2 billion people out of poverty. Because we know what the rich do. They have the best of the best in terms of the accountants. They give away money, but it's all for tax purposes. When they're donated, it's not just because they're trying to be nice. They donate because they have to find ways to show that they're doing something, and it's all, they all get it back tenfold. There was one where Donald Trump, they were trying to get his tax information. Come to find out that he was only paying $750 a year for his taxes, and they were trying to call him out on it. And Trump said, "What? That's because I'm smart." But you see, that is code, because the rich have these fancy accountants that know how to, they know all the tricks. They're the ones who write the tricks, so they know all the tricks in the book. You see, it says, let's go here. The richest 1% grab nearly 2/3 of all wealth, worth 42 trillion. Look at that, man. Created since 2020. There you go. Since what happened in 2020, right? Almost twice as much money as the bottom 99% of the world's population, revealed in a new Oxfam report today. So you see, man, on its face, I know this is not an arrest, so we don't really get involved in these type of things, but this is more for edification. It just shows you how these people are living. This is why they talk so proud and so loftily, right? It says the richest 1% grab nearly 2/3 of all wealth, worth 42 trillion, created since 20. Look at that, man. Wow, since 2020. Almost twice as much money as the bottom 99% of the world's population, reveals a new Oxford fam today. And people are still wondering who the wicked is, right? Man, during the past decade, the richest 1% have captured around half of all new wealth. Survival of the Richest. It is published on the opening day of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Elites are gathering in the Swiss ski resort as extreme wealth and extreme poverty have increased simultaneously for the first time in 25 years. Every year, these people go to Davos, Switzerland. Right now, the head of that is Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Harari and the other elites that are running the show behind the scenes. But these people are boasting in wealth. This is why you have all these NGOs, all these non-government organizations where they control the government. So it doesn't matter who is in power, because I always say it, these governments are not elected, they're selected. And they're selected for a reason, because they can be controlled. All these lobbyist groups from behind the scenes, they're the ones who's telling the so-called government, prime ministers and presidents, what to do. And of course, they get a little bit of the bag as well, so they're doing it. This is why the government comes with all these extreme draconian measures, because they're feeding into these 1% desires, right? It says, taxing the super rich and big corporations is the door out of today's overlapsing crisis. See that? Taxing the super rich and big corporations, which both of them get a pass. It's time we demolish the convenient myth that the tax cuts for the richest results in their wealth somehow. See? Trickling down to everyone else. 40 years of tax cuts for the super rich have shown that a rising tide lifts all ships. See, this is the problem. Just the super yachts. Yeah, of course. It's only for the rich people. It's an interesting article, by the way. It says billionaires have seen extraordinary increases in their wealth during the plan and cost of living crisis years since 2020. 26 trillion, 63%. So you see, reading this article here will make you throw up if you're into the world, into this world's money. But it just shows you how vile these people are, right? There's no person in this world should go to bed hungry, you know. But these people are reaping all the resources for themselves, you know, starting with the Edomites, but more importantly, the head tribe Amalek. They're the ones who's hoarding all the resources. So this article here, the video that I showed earlier, eventually is going to turn to what? Food shortages. And there's already doing that. I saw a video earlier today where they're having the people in the street, all of them follow around this large building trying to get some food. So they know. So this is why I say these lessons here is to comfort the Israelites. You see, return to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Put your trust in the Lord. Put your trust into YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. He's the only way. Our people like to look for these other nations to save us. These people could care two F's about you. Straight up. Let's go to Lamentations 4:17. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. You see that? The Lord created 18 nations, and Israel is the Lord's portion. But now we are in our captivity. This is our final captivity. But these nations are eating large. They're lavish. But you see, this is what the problem. November of 2020, if it even gets that far, there's supposed to be an election in America. People are screaming for Harris. Others are screaming for Trump. But as for us, our eyes as yet failed us for our Salakia. Let me slow down. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. See? In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. 1%, the 1%ers control twice as much as the 99% of the world's wealth. Twice as much. And since 2020, they have boast 43 trillion. So they're making money hand over fist. You see? This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 25. To the Israelites, my children, suffer patiently in the wrath that has come upon you from Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. For thine enemies have persecuted thee, and yes, they have, and still to this day. But shortly thou shalt see his destruction, and shalt tread upon his neck. And that is the destruction That's why it says in the book of Psalms 91, only with thine eyes shall thou see the reward of the wicked. Let me go there really quickly. It's a beautiful verse. Psalms 91 verse 8, it says, only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. And that is their reward, to be treaded upon their neck. Anyways, that's really all I have on that. I hope that you've been edified. Till the next time I say, Thawada, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Shalom, Israel.